Today, we talk about the number one mistake beginners make, creating a kick-ass website, and mentoring opportunities for aspiring photographers.
Let's do it. What have you been up to?
So much. But today is the day that everybody's been waiting for. We are announcing the winner for that brand new, beautiful Fuji Instax camera and film.
It's true. Big day. We've had messages. When's it going to happen? We keep telling you when it's going to happen. We're going to do it. But don't they have to wait? They have to wait, don't they, Ray?
Only until the end of the episode.
Well, we'll leave it till then. But dude, tell me now. What have you been up to?
I know that I feel like every episode I start off with saying, man, this was a busy week. But it was, once again, a really busy week. This is, obviously we're in the beginning of wedding season, and there's just always so much going on with. This week I had 5 engagement sessions. I met with 2 couples, and I shot a wedding, all while having a newborn at home. So it's been incredibly busy and stressful around the house. And on top of that, I didn't know this before moving out here from California, but it rains in the summer. Like, that's a thing. In California, you'd never had to worry about bringing an umbrella with you anywhere in the summer because it shouldn't rain in the summer. So having to work around engagement sessions like with the rain has been quite tough, but we managed it. So like I said earlier, though, I shot a wedding over the weekend with Heather Loren, who we interviewed on the podcast back in episode 20. So she was from Indianapolis originally before moving down to Sarasota, Florida. So she was shooting a wedding up here, and she asked me to second shoot with her. So it was a great opportunity to, actually meet one of our guests in person and, work side by side with. It was nice to see how a fellow pro works. It was really awesome. I really picked up a lot, however, last week from Magic's episode all about Snapchat. I mean, I thought that I figured out Snapchat pretty well and how to tell a short story every day. But, man, Magic is just pumping these things out. He's killing it. They're hilarious. I know, Calvin, you've been watching these things, haven't you?
I love those.
You've been spending more time watching Magic Snapchats than you have been actually Snapchatting.
That's true. I'm a really bad Snapchatter, so if you follow me, you're going to get really good content like 2 out of 7 days.
Like healthy pancake recipes.
Yeah, we made some pancakes the other day. Catherine works from home on Wednesdays, and so we like to have a good breakfast in the morning because we can sit down, and we usually have pancakes, and they were delicious.
They look delicious, I'm not going to lie.
And I Snapchatted them, but then I forgot to Snapchat for the rest of the day because really I didn't accomplish much,
Right.
I'm getting a lot of work done. It seems like I'm not getting anything done.
Good save. Yeah, it was funny though when I was watching your Snapchat and I saw those pancakes. It was funny because I saw like already eaten pancakes. Like you had already like devoured half of them, right? And then the next Snapchat was Catherine's, and there was like perfectly untouched pancakes. And for a second I thought that it was yours, and I was like, how did he do this backwards? How did he post a picture of consumed pancakes and then fresh pancakes? But then I quickly figured it out, which, by the way, bro, her pancakes looked better than yours.
See, remember when we had Betty on and I said I would be a horrible food photographer because I'd eat them and then think to take the photo? Same.
You are absolutely correct.
Rules still apply to Snapchat. I take a few bites and go, damn, that's good. Take a photo.
I don't know how to segue into today's episode from that, except for today's guest isn't on Snapchat, but we convinced her to start using Snapchat.
Who do we got today? Huh?
Today, we have all the way my neighbor to the east in Ohio, Lauren Grayson. She does a little bit of everything when it comes to she does newborns. She does a little bit of family stuff. It's more lifestyle family stuff, which is great. It's not like the traditional portraits that you think of. And then she's also venturing, we talked to her about venturing into the new world of boudoir for her. So how it is that she changes gears from, shooting a newborn session to then a boudoir session, because they're two very different things. So she shares a lot there, which I found very helpful, as well as we even go into some business. And that was awesome as well. Did you pick up anything from her business speech?
I've got a few things, and I'm actually very interested in seeing what her 3-week crash course is on.
Ooh, we don't want to give away too much.
Oh no! Edit that.
We don't want to give away too much. So how about we just go ahead and get into the episode right now?
Do it.
Today's guest has been featured just about everywhere, from Shoot and Share, Looks Like Film, Lemon and Lens, Denim and Grace, and Beyond the Wanderlust. Just to name a few, she's a newborn, maternity, boudoir, and family photographer who is a member of both the National Association of Professional Child Photographers and the International Association of Professional Birth Photographers. That was a mouthful. I'm glad that I got that out. So to say that she takes her photography very seriously is just a complete understatement. Today, we have Lauren Grayson. Lauren, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome. Good. So, Lauren, we're really excited to have you here today. Talk about, your style of photography. So why don't you go ahead and give us an introduction and let us know how long you've been shooting.
Okay, I have been shooting for a little over 4 years professionally. Now, I started shooting like several years before that. I guess, okay, my kind of backstory on how I got into photography is I always loved taking pictures. I mean, I was definitely always the person taking pictures. I always liked that kind of stuff. I was more of a creative person. But my dad actually is a hobby photographer, so that's kind of how I got my hands on, an actual DSLR and lenses and stuff like that. And, I mean, I started doing Photoshop probably before high school or in high school. I mean, years and years ago, just playing around with it and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, by the time I went pro, I had already kind of used his gear, bought my own, done it for years. I mean, way before I have a 5-year-old son, way before I had a son. I think I wanted to be like a fashion blogger at one point, but then I realized I don't actually have that good of a fashion sense. So I decided not to take pictures of myself anymore. So so then once I had my son, I mean, my photography grew and grew, and I thought, well, maybe I want to like do this as a career. So I kind of, started going back and forth and thinking about, maybe doing it more professionally, and I was kind of interested in really doing a job with it. But my background's actually in education, so I worked with kids with special needs for about 6 years.
Wow.
So I spent about a year kind of studying photography and business and kind of prepping for it. Then I, I waited until January because I thought you had to wait until January to like open a business. Yeah, I don't know. It was like the crazy thing in my head. So, I kind of opened up shop officially, and then 4 months later I lost my job. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm going full time. And then I've just never really looked back since, and it's always kind of worked out.
Jeez, so, no time like the present.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good because it really pushed me to really go full force. And it was like, in the long run, the best thing ever because, now it's like I love what I do and I'm definitely super busy and stuff. But yeah, so that was kind of my whole journey to now here I am.
Wow.
Long story.
Okay. I had a question, but then after hearing some of that, I'm going to navigate to a new question.
Oh, no, I want to know the first one.
No, that's not how this works. I do first things last things first. So
okay.
My question actually, so you're a special education teacher, and obviously you're someone who works with kids very closely. Do you think you had a lot of transitional skills come off of that?
Yeah, I think it helped. I think it helped that I was definitely already used to being around kids and dealing with kids and stuff like that. I mean, I had sisters, I always babysat, so it was kind of like a natural evolution into really focusing on shooting babies and stuff like that.
That's awesome. I mean, and so my actual first question besides that one, because I think that's super neat that you have this skill set that you're now transitioning into the art world. I'm always super, super interested in hearing stuff about that because I don't think people think about that a lot. I don't know about you, Ray, if you think about things at all, but I think about that sometimes.
Ouch.
I'm joking.
Man, I'm
I'm
just
going
over here not saying a word, and oh man, that's like a knife to the heart right there, Callan.
jugular.
I'll just leave.
I think one of the things we wanted to ask you is about, it's clear that you enter photo competitions and features quite often. I guess when you're first starting off, how did you get over that fear of rejection? Because I know that's something that's huge with the photographers who reach out to us privately.
Okay.
You know, if you want to just talk about, you know, how you got over that sense of, you know, that fear, or if you even had it at all.
I definitely had it, and I definitely still have it with certain things because I'm obviously always reaching for like the next thing and trying to go to the next level, and so there's always still, I think, an element of fear. And I know something people have asked me is, do you still get nervous before a shoot? You know, like, is there ever a time when you don't ever get nervous before a shoot? And I don't think so, because I still get nervous. Not always, but I definitely still, before I have a shoot, sometimes will get nervous.
Sure.
Because, you know, you want to do a great job, and you have, you know, your client has an expectation and you have an expectation, and I just think it's natural to have, you know, this obvious fear of rejection. But I think what I realized eventually is that having, you know, that fear of rejection is good, because that means that you really care. You know, you really care about what you're doing, and I kind of just let that fuel me in the opposite direction into, I'm just going to keep trying, and I'm going to keep going. You know, I mean, no matter how, I mean, I've definitely been rejected, don't worry. And I had to grow a little bit of a thick skin, you know. I mean,
Right.
it even though it still hurts, I don't know, sometimes I think maybe it hurts a little bit less, because I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know, just on to the next one. So it takes time, I think, to grow a little bit of a thick skin, but also just, like I said, I try to let my fear really, like, fuel my dedication to succeeding, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I absolutely love that answer. But I guess for, you know, our audience is mostly beginners who maybe have just picked up, you know, their first camera, and they don't even know how to use it yet. So why don't you tell us about the first time that you entered in a photo into a competition, and how scary that was for you? And do you remember that photo?
No.
I
don't even remember. I don't remember specifically the first one. I think a couple of the first ones I entered is, I know I've entered a lot into like Lemonaded Lenses and NAPCP, which is National Association of Children Photographers, I think. And I, you know, like the birth photography, the International Association of Birth Photographers that I belong to, I've never gotten through. Like, I've entered all of those, and I always get denied. I've never made it through on one of their competitions. So, you know, I think it was one of those that were the earlier ones, and it took me, it was like such a stressful big debate on which image was the right image, which one I should choose and submit. You know, so I think it's just, for me, I think when I first started, I really tried to research where I was going to be submitting. I think maybe Beyond the Wanderlust or Lemonaded Lenses is one of the first like blogs I was published on. And so I would suggest to people, take your time to make sure you really study that magazine or that forum, or, you know what I mean, who you're submitting to, and try to really make sure that, you know, do some research on what it is they like or don't like and their style, and definitely make sure you follow all the sizing guidelines and how they ask you to submit things. So I think that's when I first started out, I learned that those were two really important things, is just really researching where you were submitting, and making sure you kind of did it properly.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Absolutely. And what it sounds like is that you just have this, I'm just going to jump in and see what happens type of attitude, which I love. And I think that as not only a creative, but as a business owner, you kind of have to have, because otherwise, if you're not moving forward, you really are just kind of dying. So I think that that's really cool. So I guess that kind of brings me into my next question, is that while Facebook stalking and Instagram stalking you, I found out that boudoir is like pretty new for you. And it sounds like a road that you never intended on going down, but now you're just hard, like going at it full steam, and you love it. So do you want to talk to us kind of about the learning curve? Because it's a very different style of photography, and it's a very different style of editing as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So when I first started, you know, I did anything and everything. And I always tell people, when you start, you know, you may not know what your specific subject is going to be. I mean, I didn't. You know, you take whatever work you can get, you take whatever money you can get, and you learn along the way and start cutting things down. I knew right away I didn't like weddings.
Mm-hmm.
That was not for me. So kudos to you that do weddings, because those are not my fun place. But so yeah, so I mean, I kind of ended up in this newborn pose studio area of work, and I did that for a few years, and then I just, last year I made a huge brand jump, and I made a huge change in my business. I kind of just turned it upside down. So I still am mainly, I would say, a baby, maternity, birth, photographer. Those are kind of still my main things. But yeah, I ended up in this whole boudoir world that I kind of fell in love with. And it was like obviously you guys had Candace on here, who I met, last year at a conference, and saw her speak, and I saw Ben Sasso speak, and I was in like a place where I just didn't really love what I was doing. I still love photography, but I was kind of not as passionate about it, and I just felt that there was no movement or emotion or really depth to what I was doing, and there was just really something missing.
Yeah.
And so, I went to that conference, and I listened to people speak, and I just did a lot of soul searching, and I realized that I didn't shoot for myself anymore. I only took commission work, and so I started shooting for myself, and I started experimenting with boudoir, and it kind of just happened. Like you said, I didn't, or like you said it sounded like, which is true, I didn't really intend for it to happen. I still love shooting births and newborns, but I definitely have more of a film look that I transitioned to, and a very emotional, very deep, kind of dark, moody, twisty whole vibe that I went for.
Yes.
So I love emotion, and I love just that kind of stuff, and it just clicked. I mean, as soon as I transitioned to that, I just fell in love with photography, my business all over again, and I just finally felt for the first time that what I was doing really represented who I was as a person and what I wanted. And I think I loved that I started to really follow people like Candace and oh my god, I don't know how to say his name right, but the guy who does like Do More, Wear Less, Boudoir, Ewan Fillet. I don't know how to say his name, but
yeah,
I'm gonna butcher it. Sorry.
Well,
But all these people that and a lot of them do self-portraits and stuff, which is, I'm not like, that to me is scary still, but
baby steps.
I just loved that there was this whole other world of people like shooting photos that had emotion and that were just really intimate and just captured people in a whole new way, so so I just kind of started doing it and shooting it more and more, and I actually just had a session right before this that was boudoir, and I've loved it. It kind of gives me, I don't want to be a jack of all trades, but it's given me like a nice variety of stuff to work with.
Yeah, of course.
I think I would love to attempt boudoir because of the intimacy of photography. I feel like I'm not a guy who can be serious enough in a moment, and I can totally respect. Why is sorry, just a sec. My Siri just turned on by itself. Oh, you can't see it now. And it's like trying to repeat what I just said back to me about boudoir.
The NSA, they're watching you.
That's awesome.
Crossing international lines. Yeah.
They made it past the border.
Be careful, Callum.
No, I was going to say, I'm always super blown away by boudoir, and, I've always thought to myself, if I get into that arena, how do I make it really about my creative soul? And I think you've really found an outlet there. And I've thought, if I go into that, what would I have the most challenge with in a boudoir session? So, I wanted to ask you what aspect of it on a, event-to-event or boudoir shoot-to-boudoir shoot basis do you find the most challenging?
I don't know what I find the most challenging.
You're too good. We got it. Okay,
no.
Next question.
There's got to be something. It honestly actually comes really natural. I know, I always feel that my clients are very nervous about how they're going to look, but, I tell other photographers, I do everything I make my clients do before they do it. So I put myself into whatever position I'm asking them to do, and I physically show them. And usually I look way goofier than they're going to look, and I really make myself look stupid, which I think helps. So I think it was a little bit harder to shoot it until I learned that. And then once I learned how to get people more at ease with me and get really comfortable, And I'm a slow shooter when those happen. I mean, they're long sessions. I really I take the time. I mean, I talk to those people for about 45 minutes before we start shooting.
Oh, wow, yeah, that is a long session.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's, I don't expect people to come in and just start shooting, I have someone come into the studio who does their hair and makeup here, and then I can spend that 45 minutes to an hour getting to know them, and then they're usually comfortable by the time time to start shooting.
Wow.
And I kind of like doing it that way because it's like a nice transition for people.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought that it's really interesting that, you really mentioned that these are supposed to be like soulful, like
Yes.
very emotional, intimate photos, but it's like while you were saying that, you could have also been describing your family work. And I think that what's really interesting is that the work that you do with families, newborns, and kids is very much the same. It feels like a day in the life. It feels like you're part of the family, and your boudoir work as well feels like, I mean, you are in the room, but it feels like you could be there, and that almost you're just like a fly on the wall. And it's very great. But I'm wondering how you go from your family work is very, very bright. It's very inviting, and your boudoir work is very it's darker and it's moody and it feels very what's the word that I'm looking for here? Just almost passionate, but at the same time very like hidden. So how do you go about I mean, those are two very different styles of not only shooting but editing. So how do you go about changing your shooting style the day of? Like, have you ever been in a situation where you've shot maybe a newborn session in the morning and then later on you did have a boudoir session? And then how do you switch gears?
No, I don't typically. I try not to do more than one a day, just because it is kind of weird for me, and because my sessions are so long, because they are so. I mean, even with when I do newborns or I go into someone's house and do that kind of stuff with the family, those are long too. All of my sessions are pretty long just because I like it to be personal, so I shoot pretty slow because I talk too much. I talk a lot too, but I like to get to know people. So I have definitely, I mean, it always depends. I don't necessarily have a plan when I go in. I kind of just shoot whatever I feel or whatever I find. So it can depend on the person's house. It can depend on the people's personality. Do you know what I mean? Because I've had homes I went into and I've done families or newborn where they're kind of dark, but that's just because of the way I felt, the way I felt they felt, the way the house looked, if that makes sense.
Of course.
And I try to keep like as much of a consistent, because I'm really big on keeping like a consistent brand and everything like that. So I try to keep that same film style and look and depth and emotion to things and documentary portraiture as much as I can. But yeah, so it really, I think just because I take the time to get to know my clients and I will chat with them before we shoot a little bit, that's kind of how it helps me switch gears between sessions and who I'm working with. If I do newborn versus boudoir or something like that, it helps that I spend a little time kind of chatting with people, if that makes sense. That kind of helps get me more in that zone.
Yeah, it's all about, trying to form those relationships and personalizing a session to them, but at the same time still being true to who you are as an artist and I guess trying to tell your version of their story.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense.
I think we need to talk a little bit about the editing side.
Okay.
We get asked that a crap ton.
About editing.
About editing. You can talk as much or as little as you want. We're not hard asses about it
I'm
either.
not.
Ray's not a hard ass. I'm a hard ass.
He's too tired. He just had a baby.
That's right. I'm just going to take a nap real quick.
I don't have an excuse. I'm getting married in 2 weeks, so I mean...
Oh, that's stressful too. Wow.
That's somewhat stressful. Not as stressful as like a screaming child. That's.
As long as your bride-to-be isn't screaming at you, you'll be okay.
If she's screaming at me, I'm dead, so don't worry. It's over. Obviously, you shoot a lot, and you shoot in so many different mediums. And by mediums, I mean obviously family, portraits, newborns. I guess if you were to, what sort of things when you look back from when you're editing, like if you were to look back at some of your earliest edits from when you started doing family work and portraits, what's the main difference in how you edit I guess, now versus then, and also where you see yourself going?
Oh, I don't even like looking at what I used to edit. Who likes doing that?
Right, of course.
It's so hard. And and I'm not gonna remember what it's called, but if you guys have ever seen that video where it talks about kind of like the climb, what is that called? Like the transition where you know good work, like you have good taste, but getting there is such a hard journey and such a long journey.
That was an audio thing by...
You know what I'm talking about? Where
he did all the radio podcasts for yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I can't think of what it's called. We'll have to find that out. But it's kind of like that, where, you know, in the beginning, it's like, as an artist or a photographer, you see work that you're like, oh, I love that, you know, and you're trying to find your voice and you're trying to find your style, and it's hard. It's a hard place when you have good taste, but getting there just seems like it takes so long. And it has taken me years. I mean, up until last year, I don't even know that I really loved my style or my editing. I mean, it took me years and years to really perfect what I do and to get to something that I felt actually matched me. So, I mean, I definitely would tell people, you know, don't get discouraged. It does take a long time, and it takes a lot of practice. I love Photoshop. That has always been my main love. I did start integrating Lightroom a little bit into my workflow, only because I love presets, because I like that film look. So, you know, I use a lot of presets that I start with, and then I have some of my own actions that I use in Photoshop to kind of finish things off the way I like them. So I have like kind of a weird workflow where, you know, I'll use Lightroom, ACR, and Photoshop, but yet I also try to get things really close in camera, and just really I don't know. So I make no sense, and while I love people like Brooke Shaden and stuff that do like this amazing, crazy, like, where I like to edit, I don't like to spend a ton of time on it. I love doing it, but I don't like to spend a ton of time on it. So I mean, my edits are pretty short, but
which is interesting why you use Photoshop so much then.
I know. That's what everybody. I think it's just because I've done it for so many years, and I'm so comfortable in it that I feel like I can be faster.
Oh, okay.
Than in
that makes sense.
Actually, I'm just so comfortable in it. But I know everybody says I'm totally backwards because everyone else says Lightroom is so much better. But, you know, to each their own, it doesn't matter. Whatever gets the job done.
Exactly.
So, I'm trying to remember what the question even was, because
it's mainly just like, you know, you're editing in the beginning. What's something that you see the biggest difference in your editing when you first started to where it is now?
Definitely more like depth. More. I know light a million times better than I did, and I realized that I actually like to shoot a little bit underexposed. So, you know, I may not shoot technically proper all the time, you know.
But what is that?
Exactly. But I think it's something like when you start and you think, oh, these are the proper technical, you know what I mean? Like, these are the settings. Yeah. And it's hard. You're trying to understand light and all these different forms of light, and learning like which light you like to use and shoot with, and how to shoot in different light. And then realizing that there are no technical way you have to shoot, if that makes sense. You know, depending if you like light and brighter area, or if you like a little bit darker, you may shoot underexposed, and then that may not be the technical proper what you thought it was, if that makes sense. So I think that, you know, me learning how to shoot according to the way I eventually wanted to edit at the end is kind of what helped me get to like my end result that I liked.
Right. So do you think that a lot of people starting out in photography are making the same sort of mistakes?
I think so. I mean, I hope it's not just me that did that. I hope somebody else is doing that. Like, I feel like when I started, everything was like overexposed because you were afraid. I mean, and maybe not. Maybe that's just me. But I always felt like I was afraid. I was afraid of the shadows or the darkness. Or do you know what I mean? Like, I was afraid of the harsh sun, and I wanted to make sure I didn't screw myself later to where I wasn't able to edit it. Okay.
Yeah. I actually found that I always underexposed everything.
Really? Okay.
Well, only because, like, if you're watching this online or whatever, you can see the photo that I'm in right now, or the picture that I'm in. It's technically properly exposed, but, you know, part of my face is very underexposed. So when I'd look through the camera and I'd see where the meter was, and it said a proper exposure is here, I would just listen to that because, hey, I mean, this camera knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting out. But yet, when you go back, there's times where, the sky's very bright, and that's going to make the couple very underexposed. But
Yes.
technically, it's a properly exposed image. So
Yes.
I found that happened a lot with me. There wasn't so much overexposing, but I think now I do. Now I overexpose in camera, which is probably the exact backwards of how you should be shooting digital, but I just go, all in and see what happens, and like you said, whatever happens happens. But also, like you said, you weren't like really happy with your style until pretty recently. I don't think that I've ever been like confident in my style. Like, this is it, I nailed it, never gonna touch it again. It's one of those things that's kind of always evolving from just experience, how much you learn. Maybe you like greens more one year. Maybe you really like blues the next year. I mean, it's always changing. So I think that wherever you are, whatever your edit is exactly where it should be. It's just going to change with education later on. But I kind of want to change gears here now, is that you actually work with and mentor other photographers. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, I just started that kind of this year.
Oh, okay. Has it been pretty successful so far?
Yeah, I am actually going to be teaching. I'm really passionate. I mean, if people want help shooting, I will. But I became really, really passionate about business and kind of teaching more of the business aspect of things, just because, and I think that there's becoming more and more information out there about that. But I know when I started, I felt like you couldn't find anything. Like, there was just no help. People would teach me how to pose a newborn or teach me how to use a studio light, but I couldn't find anyone that could help me figure out how to market and be successful and like actually make a sustainable income and survive off of doing this as a living, if that makes sense. So I became really passionate about, like things like in-person sales and just business and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be teaching a online business class through the Bloom Forum this year, which I'm really excited about. So.
Oh, no kidding. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's exciting. So.
You're going to have to send us the links for that, and hopefully we can get those in the show notes and get some people to sign up. With your training, I guess, with other photographers, working with them pretty close. I don't know how close you work with them. I don't know if it's like you open up the books and you look at everything. But what is, I'd say, one of the biggest mistakes that you see beginners making when they first start off?
I don't want it to sound super cliche, but, definitely not charging the right amount and having a proper business plan in place. So I just think a lot of people don't even realize kind of what the options or choices are. And like I said, while I'm super passionate about in-person sales, I don't necessarily think that that's a great model for any business owner. I mean, there are some people who they're travel photographers or whatever it is they do. It makes more sense to be, it makes more sense to be inclusive, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you are, you know, like how much it costs you to run your business, and you know what I mean, like where your experience and skill level and talent is, and what you need to make, how many hours you actually really want to work. Because I know I ended up in a place where, I mean, I was working 60 plus hours a week, and I mean, it does take a lot of hours to build a brand and build a business and to start a business. And, I think when people start, they don't realize how hard it's going to be. Right. At least I didn't. I didn't realize how much legwork it was going to take, and really how much I was going to have to put into it and learn. But I think, if you have the right, it's better to just start off right, to get the kind of education you need. And I know I found mentors. I've mentored with other people, and that helped me hugely in everything that I learned, and just really investing your time into making sure, you know how many hours do you want to work, like, so how much do you need to charge, how much do you really need to make, how much does your business cost to actually run, all of those kind of things. I think it's just people don't realize, when they're kind of starting out. And I know it's, everyone gets worried because there's so many people doing photography now. But there's so many people doing everything, no matter what you do, there's gonna be another vet if you're a vet. There's gonna be, So it's, I kind of, you have to kind of like let that fear and like let that go aside and just figure out what it is about you that's special, that you're kind of really going to put out there to people. You know, what is your angle going to be when you're working towards getting clients?
I think that's super important for any listener to hear, even if you are full-time, you know, photographer in any genre. I've mentored a few locally in Toronto, kind of online, a bit similar, but mine was more for free, just trying to help out someone. I'm sorry about my dog. Shush. And I think one of the biggest things I found, even something I had to learn very quickly, was what is my cost of living, cost of running my business, and what do I actually have to charge an hour to actually make my life viable, just to be able to pay rent and food and everything else I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that is, you know, one huge lesson that anyone who wants to go and make a career out of this medium, this art, or any business really. And I think it's super important that you touched on that, especially for anyone you're mentoring.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm what was I gonna say? I think also like something people don't realize that it took me a long time is, you know, we have to think about like billable and non-billable hours. And it's like people think, oh, well, you know, I only shot for an hour and it only took me 2 hours to edit. But think about all the hours you have to blog and do your social media and answer emails. Do you know what I mean? You need to make sure you're still getting paid for those work hours. And that's just something that it just never dawned on me for a really long time, that I was still spending hours making the business work and running it and promoting it and marketing it and stuff like that. So yeah, it's hard to realize that and to figure that stuff out. But I think that's one of those things that you kind of have to get into when you're trying to start a business and stuff. And the earlier you do that, the better off you're going to be in the long run.
Absolutely. I love that because, you know, we have a lot of listeners who aspire one day to become professional photographers, but we also have, you know, I think a large majority of our audience might just be moms who love to photograph their kids, and, you know, they don't want to leave their 9 to 5, but maybe they love to shoot weddings, or they just really want to take better photos at home of their kids. So kind of going back to where you see beginners making mistakes, what sort of mistakes do you see beginners making when it comes to shooting?
When it comes to shooting, I would say,
like, do you ever just see a photo and think, yep, this is an amateur? And like, what is it about that photo that says that to you?
Again, I guess I always feel like at least everyone I look at that's new is overexposed. Or just it's not getting the lighting or the exposure proper. It's not understanding light, if that makes sense.
Yeah, highlights on the nose and just light on the side of the face.
Really understanding, you know, where light should be placed, different times of day, different environments, stuff like that. So learning how to use the light and kind of expose and shoot for that properly. And I won't even say like chimping, because I still do that. I'm not even gonna lie. That's like one of those weird habits that I still randomly do here and there. So I can't really knock anyone for that. But yeah, just, you know, just doing stuff like that, I kind of think, or, you know, kind of cutting off at weird places like knees, like learning how to not limb chop people, you know, stuff like that, I know for babies, like for newborns, for anyone who wants to shoot newborns, I always said one of my biggest telltale signs with people is if they shot up the nose.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, the standard rule is never shoot up the nose. Always shoot down on the baby the proper way. And so that's kind of always, like, a mistake that people don't realize they're making when they start doing newborns.
So where did you, I guess, figure all this stuff out? You talk a lot about education and kind of self-education. So where were some of your resources?
I've done online. I mean, I've done stuff through Creative Live. I know everybody mentions Clickin' Moms. I went to Clickaway last year. I'll be there again this year. You know, I'm mentored with a newborn photographer in Ohio, Andrea Kinter. So I've done in-person work. I've done workshops. I've done one-on-one in-person mentoring. I've done online classes, like PDFs and ebooks from different photographers. So I think I've done pretty much all of them. I've tried to do all the forms of education.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And is that mainly just for business or just for shooting?
Both, but I would say a lot of it was shooting. A lot of
Okay.
the training and stuff I've done was shooting. A lot of the business, I definitely have still done education and stuff on that and learned and just that's experience, research, stuff like that.
Did you ever have a moment where you thought, oh my God, this is going to change everything?
I think when I went to Clickway last year and I heard Ben Sasso talk, I really, really liked him a lot. And I mean, I don't know him personally. I would love to, but I don't. I don't want to be creepy and start stalking him and get blocked on Facebook.
We actually had a guest who was creepy and stalked
I
Ben
heard.
Sasso.
I heard. I think that's where it's coming from.
Louis was not. Louis
We,
was not.
we love to talk about Ben
Sasso.
Sasso. I've heard he's just like the nicest down to earth guy. He just seems like this little guy. And he does like a ton of mentoring and stuff. Just this like quiet, nice little guy, but great sense of humor. And he speaks a lot about branding. And that was really huge for me last year was learning how to brand properly. And I think a couple of the things that like I heard people like him say that was, obviously shoot what you love and you actually care about. And shoot for yourself. I do a lot of shoots now that are for me, that are creative, that are to keep me creative and excited and are my own visions and they're not for clients. And make sure you're showing what you actually want to shoot. You need to show people, even if you say you take an extended family shoot because you took it. You know what I mean? Like you did it as a favor or you took it for the income or whatever.
Doesn't mean that you have to show it.
It doesn't mean you have to put it on Facebook because if you put it on Facebook, then you're going to get more inquiries for that, And so it was just, learning stuff like that, which it's usually, I think we overcomplicate it. It's usually the simplest advice that's like, oh, duh, is like the most big moments where you're like, well, duh, no wonder everyone keeps asking me to shoot these things I don't want to shoot because you want to share every session you do.
Make it look like you're really busy. Yeah.
Yeah, and really you should just be shooting what you want people to keep inquiring about, or just sharing what you want people to keep inquiring with you about, if that makes sense. So
100%. I mean, we talk about this almost on every episode. It's that thing because it's so important to really just show what it is that you want to shoot. And it's not, we're not telling you don't take family sessions if you only want weddings. It's exactly that. Just don't show it on Facebook. Don't let other people know that you do these things if you don't want to do them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I think we're going to get into Calum's most favorite subject.
Gear! I love gear!
At first when you said that, I thought you said beer. I was like, I've never heard him say that. I've never heard him ask anybody's favorite beer. But
that's my favorite subject.
We're going to talk about gear and beer.
Gear and beer. Don't mix them.
That's going to be a new segment on the Beginner Photography
Gear
podcast.
and gear. You're welcome.
You're the first one on gear and beer.
Yeah.
You need to hear about your gear and the beer you like.
Every beer I like. I haven't met a beer I don't like.
Perfect answer.
Love them all. So I obviously shoot Nikon. If I didn't say that already.
Obviously.
Obviously shoot Nikon because it's the best. No, it's just what I started on, and then you know what? You get so invested, you're just like for life.
Screw it.
I'm gonna win the lottery, or we're in it for life. So I do some videography, especially with like my birth sessions.
Oh wow.
So I'm not, I'm definitely not like a pro extreme videographer or anything. I will not claim to be the best videographer, but I love doing those birth sessions because they're so documentary. So I shoot with a D700 and a D610 right now, so that way I can have two cameras and I can have one that does video and one that I do photos during like my birth sessions and stuff. So I have a couple 700s. And a 610. I want to get the 750 soon. That's on my list. But
a
lot of recalls. Just
I wouldn't work it out. But and I love the 35. That's my favorite lens. I could probably throw everything else away but that and be fine. I actually just bought the Sigma Art 35.
Congratulations.
I didn't get it yet. I've been very impatiently waiting for the FedEx man. But everyone just says it's so awesome, so I had to try it. So, but yeah,
half the price of the Nikon, it is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hands down, 100% the best. Raymond,
I'm excited.
sorry about your Fuji's. It's all about
No, it's cool.
You're
We
still
already
looking
have
for that Fuji person to match you.
You gotta get a Fuji, just one. That's all.
I really would, and I would love, I mean, on my list is, I would actually really love to shoot real film. Like, I mean, I think I would love, love, love to shoot film. It's just one of those things that's on my list that I haven't done quite yet.
Well, that'll be your next passion project. You started off
that'll
with
be my
boudoir and next film.
Yeah, is gonna
I
be
just
real
saw
film.
on your website, I was trying to find out what we were talking about, a video of one of your boudoir sessions. I can't
Yes,
find it.
yeah, I have done,
I lost it.
I did like a promo video of kind of like what a boudoir session with me looks like.
That's
Yeah.
a great idea. I think that would really ease a lot of the stress that clients might have before booking something like that. So that's a wonderful idea.
And did you
Yeah.
film this yourself and like everything?
Yeah, I filmed
It
it.
looks stupid professional. Like it looks like
Thank
a
you.
top tier video company.
I don't know about that, but yeah, no, it's on my boudoir website, I think, somewhere. I shot that, filmed it, edited it, everything myself, which I think it just got people excited about doing a session. So I just wanted it to be like give people feeling. And I think that the thing that's cool about video is like for some reason like that always does well for me. Like when I do my birth videos and I do any type of video, it just people really resonate with that motion.
Yeah, yep, they sure do. Callum just started doing some slideshows for his work after last week's podcast with Magic. And, I mean, they really do. I always do videos as well for my clients. Like, the next day, they're just made through Animoto. They're nothing, like top-tier, high-caliber. It's just something that I can get out there super quick, and the clients just always love it. But,
oh, yeah.
Putting in a little extra time on doing video always pays off. But it's not really switching gears here. I did just want to mention that I love your website. It is so...
Oh, thank you so much.
It's if you're listening to this, go to the website right now because it's so inviting. I mean, right at the beginning, it says, like, this is your story, ... and you're like, what's next? And then you scroll down and you're like, oh, what else is next? And you just spend so much time that by the time that you're at the bottom of the website, you're like, this is what I want. I want to be on this site. I want this to be my story. And I think that a lot of people are missing that from their website is that, and then at the bottom, perfect call to action as well, saying, find out what it's like to have a session with me. I really just think that the whole way that it's set up is fantastic. So if anybody has any questions about websites, just go look right now at Lauren's website.
Just go.
Just go. We'll have links in the show notes as well, but it's just laurengrayson.com. Check it out. It's really incredible.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that because I spent probably like months working on that. And
sure, I was wondering about that
were
because
debating.
it's Squarespace.
I know you guys were debating. It's Squarespace.
Yeah, no,
Which-
I love
I'm
it.
still #1 on Google, even with Squarespace.
That's cool.
See, Callum?
I mean,
I'm still on the first page for all of my keywords in my area. So.
You know what's interesting is I know this template on Squarespace because for a long time I tried to make it work exactly how I wanted because I love the parallax scrolling.
Yes, I love that.
And I was like, oh, that's the best thing ever. And it never worked. Like you got it like down for what you want exactly, But for me, it never worked the way I wanted to see it. So I was like, one point I was just like, I got to get out of here and go to WordPress, and I've loved it. But Squarespace was super awesome because I didn't have to think about coding.
Yeah, it's very clear that you did spend those months putting in the work on the back end of the website. So,
but can I say, this is actually a bonus for Squarespace, even though Raymond thinks I'm always trying to chop it down, is that the week I moved from Squarespace to WordPress, I was talking with another local Toronto, a friend of mine, wedding photographer, talking about moving from Squarespace to WordPress. I was trying to convince him, and he's like, well, where are you on Google? And I was like, I think I'm on page 30. And he's like, well, let me find out. So he opened up a private browser, and he typed in my name, and I was on page 4.
Hey, just immediately from switching from Squarespace to WordPress?
No. It was the old cache, so it would have been all my Squarespace info.
Oh,
so I was already doing pretty good, but I'm hoping that I can boost it now. Front page in Toronto is like another game. It's like.
Well, that's a big city. You got your work cut out for you.
Yeah, gotta get better. Gotta get better.
Good luck, Callum.
Yeah.
Well, Lauren, you really answered a lot of our questions. I think that you have shared so much for our listeners, you know, from starting off, who maybe don't know what the next step should be, and even a little bit of business, which was awesome. I learned a thing or two as well. I think
good. I'm glad.
we could all spend a little more time getting to know our numbers a little bit better, because, you know, anybody who does this or has tried to do this professionally knows that actually shooting is just such a small fraction of getting people in front of the camera. So I really appreciate everything that you shared.
Absolutely.
But we do want to be mindful of your time. So why don't you go ahead and share with us everywhere where our listeners can find you online?
Okay, I'm obviously on Facebook. It's under Lauren Grayson Portrait Artist, actually, so a little different. But I think if you put like facebook.com, it's just / Lauren Grayson Photography. I love Instagram still. I'm on Instagram under Lauren Grayson Photography. And then obviously my website is just laurengrayson.com. And I have a separate boudoir website, which is Boudoir by Lauren Grayson, but you can still get to my boudoir from the main website too. So either way, either directly or indirectly, you get there.
No Snapchat though yet, huh?
You know what? I downloaded it, and I don't even want to say I don't understand it, because then everyone will laugh at me and I'll feel officially super old. Because I downloaded it and I'm like, I don't understand. Everybody's popping up, and do I talk back? Well, I don't know. I'm gonna need like a Saturday afternoon to get my Snapchat game on.
I would want to see, you know, the setup and maybe aftercare of a boudoir session on Snapchat. That's what I'd be interested about.
It might be cool to do boudoir with Snapchat, kind of like before they get their hair and makeup done, when they do, maybe the setup, then actual, you know what I mean, like behind the scenes shooting. I don't know. I guess I haven't done Snapchat yet, but it sounds like people really love it, and that's like where it's going.
It's so much fun.
I need to get on it, but
I mean, you basically.
I never got Twitter though.
Yeah,
I passed that whole thing up.
So did I. I think that, you know, you basically just said it right there. It's all about telling a story from when they show up, show them before the makeup, show them actually in the middle of the shoot afterwards, just like glowing, just super happy and very confident. And that alone is really all that you need. It's all about just telling short stories in some sort of video form, and then you got to get a little bit crazy with some of those filters.
But aside that, I don't know. I probably can't do my birth ones on there though, like you did, because I have a feeling my clients maybe wouldn't. Let me Snapchat you while you're in labor.
Yeah, my wife kind of had to just kind of get over it.
Well, she had to go with it, but you were married to her.
Did you watch the story, by the way?
No, because I told you I just don't understand Snapchat. But no, I'm sad I missed it. See, I wish I could get it back. That's why I don't like Snapchat.
No, you can. You can.
Oh, okay. All right.
At the end of yeah, we'll have to talk about this later.
Okay, you have to explain to me the Snapchat game.
You could kill it on Snapchat. I'm serious.
I don't know everything. There are still things I don't know.
Well, I think that one of the biggest things is, for me, because Snapchat is a little bit of a time investment at first, it was just super important to schedule out all of my posts that I was going to put out on social media for the whole week. So that on Tuesday it wasn't like, oh, I got to figure out what I'm going to put on Facebook, I got to figure out what I'm going to put on Instagram, and I have to worry about Snapchat. It was like Facebook and Instagram are taken care of. Now I'm just going to keep like focusing on Snapchat right now. And then once you spend a little time with it, you'll figure it out. You know, the first time anybody logged into Facebook, they're like, so this is it? This is what I'm doing here?
This is true, yeah. I know.
Spend some time with it, and then that's it. But obviously you know that because you have quite a large social following as well on Facebook. People love you, and they would love to follow you on Snapchat.
Okay, I'll try.
Good. Well, again, Lauren, we really want to be mindful of your time, so thank you so much for coming on here and sharing everything that you did with us. It was a fantastic podcast. So again, Lauren, thank you. And we're back.
Two things to note. I need to get onto the first page of Google. I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, Lauren made that very obviously clear. But, however, you're in a better spot than you thought that you were, so that's impressive.
And number two, I'm gonna start dedicating time to do more creative shoots. You know, I'm gonna really make sure I spend at least once every 2 weeks where I shoot is just inspirational, not so much to like anything for anyone else, just for me. That's what I took away this week.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it was really interesting how much she said, obviously she started this just kind of to feel passionate about photography again. And she just loved it so much that she's like, I'm running with it. We're doing this thing full time now. And now she is, doing a lot of boudoir work and just consistently great work as well. That is super exciting for her. I think that one of my biggest takeaways was that, even though I know it now, looking back to when I started, and even like when I first picked up a camera, I really thought that photography was owning a good camera, owning a great lens. Everything else would just kind of figure itself out. But as we know now, it's not the case. I mean, actually shooting anything is really such a small amount of time of the actual business itself, from getting in front of couples to knowing how much you should even charge and how to figure that number out. There's really so much that can be done to grow your business. And Lauren really brought to light a lot of the things that a lot of the beginners just kind of are just clueless about, but should really know in order to ensure that they can set up a proper business that is just going to last for a long time. That was really cool. And her sharing her mentorship program that she's got going on.
Yeah.
Lauren is going to share her actual syllabus with us so that we know exactly what is going on in this business course. So if you are thinking, someday I want to take this jump, I want to become a professional photographer, whether it is, newborns, boudoir, or if you do want to shoot weddings, or if you want to shoot sports, you're going to need to know all these things. She talked about it to us for a little bit off the air, and it covers everything. So she's going to send us over that syllabus, and we are going to check it out and post it on the website so that you can check it out as well if you are interested in taking her course. I know that I personally am going to be looking into it. It sounds really exciting.
Oh, me as well. Raymond, I think there's a lot for our listeners to take away from this podcast. I think there's a lot for our listeners to take away this week. We've just learned pretty much about the whole gamut, besides weddings, which we do, which is I actually really love this episode because it gave us so much education into the world that we don't even stumble into all that often. I want to know from our listeners what they really took away from this episode. So when you get around to listening to this and you're hearing my voice right now, come over to Facebook on our group. Don't be afraid to ask questions because I'm sure Lauren will be happy to jump in and maybe answer them, or we'll try and find the answer for you. Until then, we have something pretty awesome to do right now, don't we, Ray?
It's giveaway time. Oh, we were almost in harmony right there.
Almost. Not a great a cappella group. Maybe like two baritones.
Two baritones. We'd just be called Dude Bro.
Dude Bro? No.
No. Okay, but seriously.
We're going to give away. Where is it? Do you have it? Hold it up.
Click, snap, film, photo.
Stuff.
We've been waiting for this for a while. We've been letting you know all this time. You got to go to the website. You got to take a photo. You got to post it on Facebook. You got to post it on Instagram. You have to tag us in it, and then you have to post my BPP giveaway to win this beautiful Fuji Instax Mini 8 camera with film. And then you will be able to take beautiful photos and give them to people like this one that you see right here if you're watching us on YouTube. If not, just use your imagination. While Callum rubs the imagination out of his eyes, apparently.
Okay.
All right, but first, Callum, this has got to be fair, first and foremost. So why don't you let all of the listeners know how we picked a winner?
Sure. Yeah, we took all of the photos that had the hashtag that we've been telling you for weeks and who tagged us in photos, and we compiled all of them, some awesome photos, and we put everyone's, either their username if we didn't have an actual name for you, or your name, into a hat, and we pulled a name out of the hat. And Raymond, why don't you drum and announce, or do you want me to drum?
Yeah, you're a way better drummer, but no, that's terrible. So the winner, I'm not going to hold you guys any longer. I'm not going to wait any longer. The winner of the first my beginner photography podcast giveaway and proud brand new owner of a Fuji Mini Instax 8 camera and film is none other than the wonderful Instagram user. Should I make everybody wait just a little bit longer?
No,
Just
man.
no?
Do it.
You're a wizard, Haley.
Yeah.
Haley, we got a lot of submissions, but you are the winner. Congratulations. All you got to do is email us at the beginnerphotographypodcast@gmail.com. We're going to go through some verification steps to make sure that you really are the real Haley. All you got to do is do that by June 30th, and then we will send you a brand new Fuji Instax Mini 8 camera. So email us right now.
Do it.
That was
I'm
pretty
excited
cool.
to see the photos that come out of it.
And then it'll be like real film on Instagram. Is that meta?
That's a bit too meta for me,
A
man.
bit too meta. Okay.
A bit too meta.
All right. Well, anyway, so last but not least, if you have any questions about this episode, if you want to check out any of the links to anything and everything that Lauren talked about in this episode, go ahead and head over to the beginnerphotographypodcast.com and then scroll down to the show notes for Lauren Grayson's episode. Down at the bottom, you'll see, like I said, links to anything and everything she talked about if you're interested in it. So I think, Callum, until next week, we should
Have fun. Go shoot. Do what you love. Come hang with us on the Facebook group. Go find craft beer and tell us about it.
and Lauren, tell Lauren about it too.
And Lauren, yeah, as well.
All right, guys. We will see you next week.